Thanks for joining us.
Sure thing. No problem, man. Good to see both of you.
Yes. Well, I think a lot of people want to know the transition from player to coach. What have been the struggles that have gone along with it, and just the advice you've gotten from Phil and different people?
Yeah, no, it's been a big transition, that's for sure. Completely different life, although it's the same game. A lot more hours and a lot more film study, and instead of you worrying about your own game, you know, you worrying about the whole organization and all 15 players and a lot of moving parts. But I'm still excited, and I'm still very thankful that I have this opportunity. And we're just working hard every day trying to turn this thing around and rebuild it in a way that we can be proud of and that we can sustain at the same time.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you wanted to jump in.
No, I mean, I'm going to jump back to our playing days. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to talk about the point forward. I remember that.
Yeah, what was going through your head when that happened? Besides running off the court.
First of all, let's get out of San Antonio safely. That was the first thought. But just that we were one step closer to having a chance to win the championship. That was really everything that playing the game was always about for me. And that shot got us a step closer. We couldn't finish it, but for that night, it felt like we were a big step closer to winning the championship.
I just remember when you hit the shot, I started running towards you, but you sprint this way. So every time I see that shot, I see me and Parker running. We got to change.
That's the best part of the video by far.
The guys going like this.
That's the best. Yeah.
Everyone start chasing after fish. They're like, oh, I guess we got to follow him.
That's the best part of the video.
They didn't know.
For sure. That is the best part.
So you've had Phil as a coach, a mentor, a GM. Tell me about the different stages of that relationship.
Oh man, when you think about, you know, Phil took the Lakers job in 1999, and so 16 years ago, basically, was the first time I got a chance to meet him. And coming from Chicago, he didn't have a history of liking "quote unquote" small guards.
Right, so he's like big guards.
So
like that,
you know, so the relationship started off kind of. I wasn't really sure if he would even like having me on his team, you know. But over the years, it just kind of evolved into not really like a warm and fuzzy type respectful relationship. There still were boundaries as far as coach-player, but just a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and even in our differences, even at times when he didn't like certain things I was doing on the court, or at times I didn't like when he was taking me out or whatever. We were both so committed to winning. I think it always kind of gave us a common ground. And so now, in the roles that we have as president of basketball operations and head coach, you know, the relationship technically by position is different, but it's still the same. It's like, what can we do to help our team win? What buttons can we push? And, you know, we're just trying to push all the buttons we can right now.
When you were leaving Oklahoma City, did you know that you were thinking about talking to Phil and getting this job?
Well, by the time I played my last game, I mean, the news had kind of already, you know, begun, so to speak, in terms of the possibility of it. And I spoke to Phil the day after the season was over in Oklahoma City, and he was, you know, very clear that he thought I would be great at the job, and that he would seriously, you know, offer me the position if I wanted to take it. And so he gave me a couple of days just to think about it. At the same time, he needed to make a decision pretty quickly after Steve Kerr decided that he wasn't going to accept the job. And so I took a couple of days, and the rest is basically history. I mean, it's been a roller coaster whirlwind of craziness, you know, since that day in early June. And, you know, wrapping up my first season. We haven't had a great season record-wise, but we've accomplished a lot. And we've established a new way of doing business here in New York with the Knicks, and a certain standard that we're trying to set that won't allow anyone to be below that. And so we've had to take our lumps this year, but you know we still have some great things coming ahead, and we're not going to give up on it until we get there.
Let's talk about the future. Obviously, you know, you guys got Melo, but what are the plans for next year? You know, I know you guys run a triangle, so what are you guys plan for running that next year?
Yeah, no, I think for us, you know, going as we finish up this season and going into next season, we obviously have money to spend in free agency. You know, the front office will. Yeah, no, this guy, I'm sure can.
Sweating.
I'm sure he can.
He's not nervous. He was shooting before.
You know, this guy, I'm sure can still play a little bit. So, you know, we'll be able to definitely sign some free agents and make some decisions as far as our roster. But I think the biggest thing for us in terms of our plans are really about, you know, developing the people that we do have, regardless of who they are.
Yeah, Rashida mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the NBA, you'll always have access to good players, to great players. But what are you going to do with them once they're a part of your team? And so we're really trying to work on how we're going to develop the entire person. Right. You know, not just shooting a bunch of jumpers and lifting a bunch of weights.
The character as well.
But the character, the integrity of the player and the person, because we believe that's what will ultimately, you know, build the strongest team, and guys having that bond. But there are certain guys that are wired that way, or that you can teach certain things to come along. So we're excited for the future. At the same time, you know, we're not disrespecting the present, and we're still trying to make sure that we're going out and playing, you know, our games with the proper respect as we finish out the season.
Talk about your assistants. You know, a lot of people are calling the Knicks Lakers East.
Yeah.
You know, Phil's crew, basically.
Right.
And what you're talking about, that you guys all kind of have that old school mentality, not just on the court, but off the court as well. You want to build these players.
Yeah, no, our coaching staff is comprised of quite the, not just the great coaches, but when you think about their experiences in life, their past championship experiences as players and coaches. Jim
For
Clemens.
audience in China, they don't know all the
Yeah,
we can go through each
I'm
one.
going to go down the list. You know, Jim Clemens was a championship player with the Lakers in 71, 72, and then a championship coach in Chicago and with the Lakers for many years. Kurt Rambis, who's our associate head coach, was a championship player and played for Pat Riley and with some of the greatest players, and also a championship coach with the Lakers in L.A. Rashid Hazard, a championship scout and basketball staff personnel and coach with the Lakers for a long time, and obviously the pedigree with his dad, Walt Hazard, and his family. And Brian Keefe, who has been an assistant coach and part of the San Antonio Spurs for many years, and then in Oklahoma City for the last 6 or 7 years, being a part of very successful organizations and seeing the best do what they do. Josh Longstaff, another young coach who was in Oklahoma City for 4 years prior to this year. So all of our coaches are men that have been around the best, played with and coached with the best, seen the best players do what they do. And those are the standards that we're trying to set here for our players. And it's going to take us some time, but we feel like we have a nice collection of guys that are some a little bit older, some younger, but when you put it together, we feel like it's a really nice mix.
Yep. Let's talk about China. This is a Chinese website. So you ever been to China before?
I have been to China.
Did you like it?
I did like it. It was pretty hot and muggy.
Basketball, I mean, is everything.
Yeah,
there.
it's the popularity of the game in China is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have a statue of Kobe, like he died or something, and they put like flowers there and.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
What
serious.
province is that?
Guangzhou.
Guangzhou.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
What would be some helpful, you know, insight for young players in China looking up to, you know, obviously to NBA players, but what would be some keys that got you where you where you need to be as far as your development?
Yeah, no, I think the key always will come back to, you know, how hard are you willing to work and how much time are you willing to put in to becoming successful at whatever it is you do. And whenever I talk to kids or I talk to young people from anywhere in China or anywhere around the world, it's not about trying to tell you, okay, these are the things that you can do to become an NBA player or to become a basketball player. But these are things that can apply to anything. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, a scout, a music artist, whatever it is. But how hard are you willing to work at it? Are you putting the time in, identifying, you know, the attributes or characteristics of those that have been successful in it before? What is it that they did? You know, what kind of drills were they doing? You know, how many hours were they in the gym or in the office or whatever? And try and emulate, you know, some of the great things that other great people have already, you know, kind of set the example for. I don't think anybody's going to reinvent the wheel to success. It's just about, you know, are you following the right patterns, you know, to get there?
We're talking about when you were a young fish, a little tadpole.
Yep.
Who did you look up to on the court?
Magic, by far, in a way, was.
So you wanted to be a Laker?
Yeah, no, that was by far my favorite player of all time. There was something about the way he played the game, kind of with a smile. At the same time, he was an assassin and would take your heart out, but he enjoyed making other people better. And so I just thought the example of having fun playing basketball, but working hard and being competitive and doing anything to win, but then doing it in a way that helps other people. And that was the example for me.
Right.
And so, you know, getting drafted by the Lakers, you know, in 1996 and actually becoming, you know, a guy on the team that he played for, you know, it was like a dream that never ended.
Right.
And so he was the bar for me. That was always not comparing myself to him as a player. I'm not in that stratosphere at all, but just wanting to copy, in a sense, the way he went about his business on the court and off the court in terms of how successful he's become as a businessman as well.
Who else was influential in your life growing up?
My dad. You know, my dad pushed me really hard in good ways and sometimes not so good ways. But all kids, you know, in some ways need some strong discipline from various places. But my dad was a strong personality and a great mentor for me. He really pushed me hard on understanding that you can never become complacent in life. And that's something that I learned from him at a very young age, in that you can't be complacent at anything. If you're sitting still or you're being complacent, somebody's going to pass you by. Somebody's going to get that opportunity that you could have gotten if you were still working at it. So as a kid, yeah, so as a kid, that was my lesson. And everything I did, from schoolwork to jump shots, I was going to work hard at it. And even if I wasn't the best, I knew I just still had to keep working hard. That was the only way I was going to succeed. So, you know, he was probably the biggest influence because that's who I was with every day.
Let's talk about another one of my teammates, young Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe was coming towards the end of his historic career. You know, 20 years in, he's going to have next year. So what are your, I mean, you was close with Kobe, you know, one of the closest guys with him. So
yep.
What do you think his plans are for when he's done? I think he'd be a great coach. I think he'd be a great teammate with the guys. So I want to hear your opinion.
That's a great question. That is a great question. As far as what,
wants,
yeah, no, that's the thing, man. He has obviously the commitment to excellence, you know, that only few have ever had in terms of reaching the pinnacle of and being one of the best in the world to ever do something. So he obviously, whatever he puts his mind to, I'm sure he could do and be very successful at it. If I had to choose, I don't know. I could see him being his daughter's soccer coach. I could see him being the CEO of an advertising agency. Yeah. I know he started an advertising agency at one point. He had the documentary that was on Showtime not too long ago that was well received, and I'm sure he could go into film production or entertainment or whatever. He could do anything, but I think that's what we all admire about him and respect about him, is that despite naysayers, despite people that question his game or how he plays or what kind of teammate he was or whatever, he's always been laser focused on working hard, outworking everybody, and he consciously decided he was going to be the best to ever do it. And he's in the conversation.
Do you still talk to him much once you got the job?
Yes, we still, you know, touch base regularly via text message, or obviously whenever I'm in LA, we touch base. And even though he's coming towards the end of a historic career, he's still enjoying the process, and he's still approaching it every day kind of with a learner's, beginner's mind, and still trying to add things to his game and adjust as he physically is going through the injuries and everything. But he's still, I think, a basketball kid at heart. You know, he still just loves being in the gym. And I'm hopeful that he can come back next season, you know, and not try to be the old Kobe, but just embrace and enjoy being the Kobe that he is now, that I think we all still love.
Talk about another player that you guys played with, B. Shaw.
Yep.
Both y'all are coaches, and talk about, you know, basically he was one of Phil's guys like yourself.
Yeah.
Talk about how Phil seems to mentor these coaches.
Yeah, no, I think Bryant, for me, was a great example as a teammate of being a leader and being a guy that was always willing to be truthful with any teammate at any time about anything. And he helped set the tone, you know, for a lot of things that happened on our team and in our locker room, because he could always be honest with everybody. And so I think as he kind of put his time in under Phil as an assistant coach, and then he finally got his opportunity in Denver, I think that Phil's coaching tree is starting to blossom and starting to bloom, and I think you're going to see more guys that were part of his DNA and his fabric, you know, kind of spread out. Steve Kerr, who's in Golden State, that played for Phil, obviously played for Greg Popovich also, but he's doing a great job in Golden State. Luke Walton is a part of the staff in Golden State. So you're starting to see more guys that play for Phil kind of branch out and basically pay back the game, you know, and really be there in that way. And I think Bryant will get another chance at some point. And I think how genuine he is eventually is going to win out. I think that's eventually going to be the strength that allows him to get another opportunity and do well at it, because players respect coaches that are truthful with them and really tell them what it is that they need to hear. You can do it in a way that's respectful. Sometimes it needs to be more firm than others, but that's B. Shaw, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I respect about him a lot.
Yeah. You guys were talking briefly about the New York City media. Were you, when you first came here, were the expectations, you know, this is the mecca of basketball, that got to win, you know, what were your thoughts when you first got the job and the media part? Yeah,
no, that's a good question. I don't think I ever...
And how have they been?
Yeah, no, the media's been, as far as I'm concerned, the direct questions that I get from the media, it's been great. I don't read a lot of it, and I don't listen to a lot of it, so I can't say whether that's been great or not. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and, you know, their job is to write stories that excite people, that want people to ask questions or to start a debate. And so I don't really get caught up in that part of it, and I don't think I ever really was fearful of the responsibilities that come with having this job in New York City. I just think that my experiences in Los Angeles for so many years, being a player on a highly visible team, not just in LA, but around the country and around the world, and constantly being exposed to media, being in the playoffs basically my whole career, with the exception of 2 seasons, there's a comfort level with the media that I feel like I have, and they don't necessarily have to control my message or what it is I want to say. Sometimes things can be twisted or implied a different way based on the writer or who's saying it, but that's not under my control. So I've kind of enjoyed the process. We visit a lot, you know, basically 3 times a day on game days, a lot of times. But it's a part of the job, and I embrace that part just as much as I do the X's and O's.
Wrapping this up, what do you don't have much time off, but when you do, what do you like to do in your off time?
Well,
I mean, this off season is gonna be tough.
Yeah, no, I think my off time for me really kind of belongs to my kids, you know. I mean, so much time is put in on the job, and you know, you're away. Tatum's doing great. She's 8 years old, and if you didn't know her story and know that she had battled cancer and beat it, you wouldn't even know that she had ever had those experiences. And so she's doing great. Her twin brother Drew's doing great, and have a 12-year-old daughter named Chloe, and a now 20-year-old stepson who's also, they're all doing great. And so the off season generally revolves around trips to Disneyland and birthday parties. Yeah, just, you know, really trying to maximize as much time with them as possible. And then just trying to improve as a person and now as a coach, you know, reading information that can help me learn, watching information that can help me learn. I'm planning to travel this off season as much as I can to visit other coaches and other leaders and other people that are examples to me of how to do it that I want to try and emulate, and, you know, go watch their practices, go sit in on their meetings, and, you know, see how they do what it is they do, and see how I can transfer some of those things into my opportunity.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And we're glad to see you here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Muho.